All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. At the MLB trade deadline, I gave the Los Angeles Angels the benefit of the doubt in regards to them being buyers. Now, on July 31st, the Angels were 56 and 51, and they were right in the mix to be a postseason team. However, since then, the Halos are just 8 and 19, and they are well on their way to their eighth consecutive losing season. And yesterday was a big time shocker as the Angels made some shocking moves as they put six players on waivers, which included starting pitcher Lucas Giolito, relief pitcher Reynaldo Lopez, and outfielder Randall Grichuk. And in the case of Grichuk, Giolito, and Lopez, they were just acquired by the Angels last month, just prior to the trade deadline. Now, I've heard of teams pulling the plug after making a trade, regardless of the sport, excuse me. But this one right here, for me, really takes the cake. For the Angels to go out there and put these players on waivers, to me, what does that say about their front office? Because obviously, you know, you got some bad news, or you got like a miscalculation rather, or a bad report from your scouting department on this aspect because things have just not worked out. I mean, you look at Lucas Giolito for an example. He was supposed to be a guy that was going to help this rotation, and in six starts with the Angels since he was acquired, he's just 1-5 with a 6.89 earned run average. Um, you also think about the fact that the Angels gave up some prospects to go out there and make these deals. And I mean, along with these players, several other players were put on waivers as well, including veteran Matt Moore. But nonetheless, you went out there, you made the move to get Giolito along with Reynaldo Lopez from the White Sox. It hasn't worked out. But again, you're giving up prospects. So now you really have to ask yourself, how is this going, or how much rather is this going to set the Angels back? And I mean, short term, you're thinking about it right now. What are the chances that Shohei leaves or returns rather when he hits free agency this offseason? And then on top of that, with the way that things are going with the Angels, is Mike Trout gonna like look to get out of there soon as well? I mean, granted, he's on the contract, but I'm just throwing these out there. And I mean, you think about the Angels, and I'm gonna say several things. First of all, free agency and trades have not been good to this organization for a very long time. You think about it, over the last decade or so, some of the bad moves that the Angels have made in free agency. Josh Hamilton was never the same player once he left the Texas Rangers. Albert Pujols was a shell of himself after he got that big deal to leave the St. Louis Cardinals. Most recently, Anthony Rendon, who for the most part has been injured since he joined the Angels from the Washington Nationals. Now is fresh off of helping the Nats win the World Series, and then Justin Upton, just to name a few. And then now, of course, this. Now, also, I'll give the Angels the benefit of the doubt for the injury bug as well, because this has been a team that's really been hit through injuries this year. You think about Anthony Rendon, Shohei, and Mike Trout going down one after the other. Shohei came back, and now, of course, the arm issues. He's not going to pitch anymore. Will he have Tommy John before the offseason or during the offseason? We got to wait and see. But nonetheless, and of course, Mike Trout. And even with that said, as good as Mike Trout still is, he's not the guy that he was several years ago prior to the back injuries. And again, I really do applaud the Angels for going all in during just prior to the trade deadline. And granted, the injuries have really hurt this team as well. But this one right here is a head scratcher. And of course, you think about the Angels right after the trade deadline, they had a tough stretch right there. They had three with the Braves, and they had three with the four rather with the Seattle Mariners. And in that stretch, they went 1-6. And of course, in losing that four-game set to Seattle, that was make or break time for both of those teams. And of course, the Mariners have propelled themselves right into the divisional race, while the Angels have really cascaded out of it, or spiraled out of it rather. And since then it has not gotten any better. I mean, the Angels, they've been playing on they've had arguably the toughest schedule since the All-Star break, since the trade deadline. You think about it, that series with the Braves, the series with the Mariners, a series with the Giants, Astros, Rays, Texas Rangers, Reds, and now the Phillies. And now they're coming back home, and oh, pardon me, they're still on the road. Rather, they got three this weekend with Oakland, but then right after that, you host Baltimore, and then you still got another series with Seattle and another series with Texas. So it really got away from them very quick, and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that. However, to go out there and make these moves, and I'm not going to say that they mortgage their future completely, but at the same time, to go out there and give up prospects and then a couple of weeks later to say, you know what, we're not doing that. That's really not a good look for me. So I don't know what's next for the Angels, because this might be a reset. Some people did expect somewhat of a reset for the Angels this offseason, because there are plenty of people who don't expect Shohei to return. And I know, of course, before the thought was he was going to get $500 million. Obviously, that has changed with his arm injury. He's still going to get a hefty contract this offseason. And I think that the Angels are definitely going to be outbid. I still don't think he's going to give them a hometown discount. So now you have to factor in Shohei leaving. Then on top of that, you've done a complete 180 after you just made these moves. So what does that say for your team right now? To me, I think this is an organizational issue more than anything, because for you to go out there and make these moves just prior to the trade deadline and then just do a 180 on them about a month later is not a good look. What does that say about your front office? What message does that put across as well? And again, at the end of the day, the Angels have just continued to make bad moves. And I think this is another shining example of it. You expected guys to be put on waivers, but you really didn't expect guys to be put on waivers by the Angels or any other team that they just acquired prior to the trade deadline. I could understand if this was a scenario where, hey, you acquired these players over the offseason last year during spring training. You acquired them maybe in May or April. But the fact that you just did this in July, late July, just prior to the trade deadline, and now you're doing a 180, that's really not a good look. So I don't know where the Angels are going to go for this. From this, rather, I don't know what's next from them. But at the end of the day, this is definitely not a good look. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.